You think Easter is about the resurrection of Christ? Partly, yes. But then why is the symbol of this holiday a rabbit carrying eggs? What does an ancient pagan goddess have in common with spring rituals and the biggest Christian celebration in the world? Today, we're uncovering the true story behind Easter, and it's a lot stranger than you think. Every year, billions of people celebrate Easter. Some in church, some with a basket full of candy, some just enjoying a day off. But very few people ever ask, where did all of this actually come from? The church says one thing, historians say another, and archaeologists turn everything upside down entirely. So let's break it down from the very beginning. Let's start with an uncomfortable fact. The word Easter does not appear in the Bible. Not once. The first person to mention this word in connection with a spring celebration was an Anglo-Saxon monk named Bede the Venerable, back in the 8th century. He wrote that the Anglo-Saxons celebrated a month called Eostre, the month of the goddess Eostre. So who was Eostre? According to old accounts, she was the goddess of spring, dawn, and fertility. And her symbols? That's right, hares and eggs. Symbols of new life, of fertility, of nature being reborn. But here's where the debate begins. Some historians argue that Bede simply invented this goddess to explain the name of the month, because there's almost no direct archaeological evidence of an actual Eostre cult. But here's the thing. Even without her, something much bigger was already happening. Long before Christ, peoples across Eurasia were celebrating the spring equinox, the moment when day finally conquers night. The Babylonians celebrated the resurrection of the god Tammuz. The Phrygians honored Attis. The Egyptians mourned and then rejoiced for Osiris. Everywhere the same idea: death and rebirth. This is not a coincidence. This is an archetype, wired deep into human consciousness. Now, the Christian version. For the Church, Easter is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the event described in the Gospels as happening on the third day after the crucifixion, during the Jewish festival of Passover, known in Hebrew as Pesach. And this is the key moment. The word Pascha, which is what most languages in the world actually call this holiday, comes directly from the Hebrew Pesach, Ukrainian Velikden, French Pax, Spanish Pascua. All of it traces back to Passover, which means most of the world doesn't even use the word Easter at all. But when exactly should it be celebrated? That question tore the early church apart for nearly 300 years. In 325 AD, at the Council of Nicaea, Emperor Constantine gathered the bishops and said, "We're settling this once and for all." The result? Easter would be celebrated on the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox, a formula we still use today. And notice something. The date is tied to the full moon and the equinox, phenomena straight out of the heart of astronomical paganism. All right, now for the most interesting part. Why the rabbit? The official church never endorsed a rabbit as a symbol of the resurrection. That image came from Germany in the 16th and 17th centuries, where a character called the Osterhase, the Easter hare, was said to hide eggs for children. German immigrants then brought this tradition to America in the 18th century, and from there it spread across the entire world. And why eggs? There are actually a few explanations. The first is that the medieval church forbade eating eggs during Lent. So on Easter Sunday, people ate them with great joy. A festive breakthrough after weeks of abstinence. The second is symbolic. The egg, as a representation of new life and resurrection, existed in dozens of cultures long before Christianity. Persians exchanged eggs during Nowruz, their spring New Year celebration, and still do to this day. The third explanation is purely practical. Hens don't stop laying eggs during Lent, so by Easter there were simply a lot of them piling up and needing to be eaten. And the chocolate bunny? That's the 19th century, and pure commerce. The first chocolate eggs were made in France and Germany around the 1820s. Mass production took off with the Industrial Revolution when candy companies realized holiday plus children plus sweets equals money. Sound familiar? And now we reach the main conclusion, one that surprises a lot of people. Easter is not a theft. It's not a fake. It's syncretism, the natural process of cultures blending together. As Christianity spread across Europe, missionaries didn't destroy local traditions. They reinterpreted them. The spring festival of nature's rebirth became the festival of Christ's resurrection. Symbols of fertility became symbols of new spiritual life. Pope Gregory I actually wrote directly to missionaries in England in 601 AD, telling them not to destroy pagan temples, but to consecrate them. Don't ban the festivals, give them new meaning. It was a brilliant strategy, and it worked. That's why the modern Easter is essentially a set of layers. The deepest layer, ancient spring rituals shared by all of humanity. The middle layer, Christian theology of the resurrection. And the top layer, Germanic folklore and Victorian-era commercialism. So what is the real Easter? It's the oldest idea in human history, that after death comes life, that winter ends, that darkness is never permanent. Whether you take that literally, symbolically, or you're simply here for the chocolate bunny, that's entirely up to you. But now you know where all of it actually came from. If you found this interesting, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which detail surprised you the most. See you in the next one.